Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Engineer Shad Muhammad, lecturer at Department of Civil Engineering, ComSats University, Islamabad, Sahiwal campus. Welcome you all to this another interesting lecture regarding foundation type selection. And this will be our lecture number 32, and this will be our last lecture of the subject Civil Engineering, Construction and Graphics. So in our previous lecture, lecture number 31 was regarding soil investigations, and we did deeply into the soil investigations and types of soil investigations, and we discussed problematic soil, specifically problems related to soil dewatering problem, and we discussed briefly the compaction issue in the soils. These are three major topics of geotechnical engineering. However, just covering three major topics or three major chapters of the field of specialization is not an easy work. Okay, we discussed geotechnical section activities in our previous lecture. Geotechnical investigations, office review, all activities are not held on site. Few activities are kept for office review, and boring and in situ testing frequency, how much will be the depth of the boring, and how frequent your in situ test should need to be conducted. Secondly, we studied field investigations and regarding subsurface soil investigation, and we also studied surface soil investigations, above ground indicators of soil, soil classifications and soil grouping, soil problems, sumps and ditches for dewatering of excavation. We studied suitability of sump and ditches, use of sump and ditches in coffer dams, and advantages of sump and ditches and disadvantages of open sump and ditches. We also studied compaction of soil. Lecture number 32 is regarding foundation type selection, and we will be studying types of foundation based on soil investigation, role of foundation, and what is the purpose of foundation, and foundation types, spread footing, drilled piers and caissons, and pile foundation, mat foundation, types of soil excavation tools and machines in construction, hand tools for soil excavation, machinery tools for soil excavation. We will go through methods of soil exploration briefly, as we have discussed in previous lecture, and soil samples and sampling for bore method of soil exploration, types of excavation supports, and selection of foundation based on different types of soils. Okay, we'll be starting the types of foundation based on soil investigation. We discussed soil investigation quite in detail in our previous lecture. For most of the fine grained soils which are having weak bearing capacity, containing silts and clay, it might be sufficient to use a simple spread foundation footing if it is largely depending on magnitude of the load. So greater the magnitude, greater the spread, and the location of the foundations in relation to the soil needs to be aware of the foundation walls and hydrostatic pressure on them as moisture is present in the soil. So if you are designing the spread foundation on the fine soil, then you should be aware regarding the foundation walls and hydrostatic pressure which are exerted on the foundation walls, and also moisture content. If the soil is poor, structural loads are relatively heavy, then alternative methods are required. So fine grade soils are having mostly weak bearing capacity. So if their soil is too poor and structural loads are too heavy to bear them, then alternative methods are required. Pile foundations might be required in some cases where fine cohesive silts and clay is present. So that alternative is regarding pile foundation. You have to go for deep foundation, and sometimes it might be desirable and economically feasible to over excavate or remove such soil that are not of bearing capacity, can remove, compact and fill back or import other engineered soil. Sometimes we have to apply soil modification processes or soil improvement techniques to improve the soil bearing capacity. How? By removing the top layer of some thickness and import some engineered soil or with some additives. You mix the soil and compact that and with the help of rollers, and or use imported soil. The geotechnical engineers based on borings will recommend suitable foundation system or alternative solution. So this is a responsibility of geotechnical engineers to suggest or recommend the suitable type of foundation based on bearing capacity, minimum depth, and special design or construction procedure to be established. So they have to suggest the safe bearing capacity of the soil equals to the soil safe bearing capacity equals to the ultimate bearing capacity divided by factor of safety. So safe bearing capacity is ultimate bearing capacity divided by factor of safety. So factor of safety is almost 2 to 4% in this bearing capacity, and ultimate bearing capacity is defined as maximum unit pressure a soil can sustain without permitting large amount of settlement. So maximum pressure which soil can bear is the ultimate bearing capacity. Bedrock has the highest safe bearing capacity, and then gravels, and then sand, and silt, and clay. So this is the chronological order of the safe bearing capacity. So well graded gravel and sand that are confined and drained have safe bearing capacity of 3,000 to 12,000 pounds per square feet, and silt and clay have a lower safe bearing capacity of 1,000 to 4,000 pounds per square feet. So if your site is having gravels or sand and they are confined, then they will have safe bearing capacity will be in this region, in this margin, and if that is silt and clay and expensive soils, then that will be having bearing capacity in this margins. Okay, role of foundation. A role of foundation is to transfer the building load to the ground. It acts as a load path and anchor building against wind and seismic loads, anchoring and isolate building from frost heave, isolate building from expensive soil. This is the purpose of foundation. So holds the building up from moisture, so prevent moisture penetration to rise up in the structure, and provide living space. Basement and storage are also provided at the foundation, and house mechanical systems are also provided at basement. So these are different types of pile bend and pile footing, pedestal piles, piers, and drill shafts, pile tent, and spread footing, some random type of foundations, and you can see that we have discussed the role of foundation. Transferring, anchoring, isolating, preventing moisture and imperviousness, and living space, and mechanical system. Types of foundation based on soil investigation include spread footing. Foundation configuration are slab on grade and crawl space and basement. So they are mostly slab on grade, crawl space, or basement, and it is mostly used. It is used for most buildings where loads are light, and there are strong shallow soils. Soil is quite shallow. Soil is quite strong, and loads are light. And at columns, there are single spot square pads where bearing wall have an elongation form. These are almost always reinforced. So they are reinforced, and if there is a column, then column footing will be having a square pad foundation, and these footing deliver the load directly to the supporting soil. So they are these spread footing are in direct contact with the soil, and so they act as a transfer of structured load to direct soil which is in contact with this footing surface. Area of the spread footing is obtained by dividing the applied load forced by the soil safe bearing capacity. So applied load divided by safe bearing capacity will tell you the area. Generally, a suitable for low-rise building and 1 to 4 stories high This spread footing is acceptable. Requires firm soil conditions that are capable of supporting the building on the area of the spread footing, and when needed, footings at columns can be connected together with the grade beam to provide plinth beam or grade beam to provide more lateral stability to in earthquakes. So your column footing, which is individual square footing or maybe trapezoidal footing, whichever the case it might be, or step footing in regards to column, then they can be interconnected with the other columns and with the help of beam. So grade beam or plinth beam can be also provided, and they might help in resisting the lateral forces. So this is concrete base, and this is column footing, and this is step footing, and this is trapezium type of footing, and sloped footing, step footing, and single footing. So these are mostly widely used because they are most economical. So as they are most economical, so they are widely used. Depth of the footing should be below the topsoil and frost line and on compacted fill or firm native soil. So depth of the foundation is below the topsoil ground level, and spread footing should be above the water table, and water table should be below the spread footing. The concrete spread footing are at least thick as the width of the stem. So concrete spread, the spread should be as thick as width of the stem. So as the weight of the building increases in relation to the bearing capacity or depth of good bearing soil, the foot needs to expand in size in different systems needed to be used. So greater the height of the building, greater the loads, and greater the spread of the foundation is required. So this is the column and column reinforcement bars and column stirrups, and stirrups in the joint area. You can see hooks and footing, and you can see this one. This is top view, and this is your front view. Okay, second type of foundation is drilled piers or caissons. So for expensive soil, the soil which are expand on susceptibility to moisture, and they are silt and clay. So with low to medium loads or high loads with rock not too far down, drilled caisson piers and grade beams can be used. Caisson might be straight or belled out at the bottom to spread the load. So this caisson may be straight, or it can be bent out at to spread the load. And the grade beam is designed to span across the pier and transfer the load over the column foundation. So there are grade beams also available. So caisson delivers the load to the soil of stronger capacity which is located too far down. So these are a type of deep foundations, and spread footing was a type of shallow foundation. So you can see that axial load is applied and lateral load is also applied because you are drilling it, and concrete mix design can vary based on several factors. Diameter can vary widely. Reinforcing steel typically required by design. So bell may be used to or omitted as required. Bell size to vary not larger than 3 times the shaft diameter. So this is your shaft diameter. It should not be more than 3 times, and sliding resistance and depth can vary. Base resistance. So if your soil is expensive, then you can use drilled or caisson foundation. Pile foundation. For expensive soils or soils that are compressive with heavy loads, where deep soils cannot take the building load, and where soil of better capacity is found deep below, then two types of piles are there: friction piles and end bearing piles. Friction pile where no reasonable bearing stratum is available, then you have to go for friction pile. They rely on the resistance from the skin friction against the soil. So as the name suggests, that they have friction against its surface, so they are named as friction pile. And end bearing pile, they have bearing at the they can bear or transfer the load directly to the good bearing capacity. They transfer which transfer directly to soil of good bearing capacity. The bearing capacity of the pile depends on the structural strength of the pile itself and the strength of the soil, whichever is less. Piles can be of wood and steel and reinforcing bar or cast in place concrete piles. So cast in place piles can be precast or piles can be also cast in place. So cast in place piles are composed of hole drilled in earth and then filled with concrete. It is used for light loads on soft grounds and where drilling will not cause collapse. Friction type obtained from shaft parameter and surrounding earth. So you can see that these are end bearing piles. Hard strata is available, then end bearing piles are quite workable, and the soil above is loose or expensive soil, and this is pile cap. So this is friction pile. There is no hard strata available, and whole soil is loose soil, so they will have some sliding friction, resist the load with the help of this sliding friction. And combined end bearing and friction pile, where loads are too heavy, then there is hard strata and also friction piles. And compaction piles are nearby piles, and they keep the soil compact. Mat foundation. Reinforced concrete raft or mat, both can be used alternatively. Raft and mat can be used for a small light load building on very weak or expensive soils such as clay. So for light load structures, this mat foundation is mostly used where soil is too expensive and too weak. They are often post tension concrete, so they can also be post tensioned, and even piles can be post tensioned. They allow the building to float on in the soil like raft, and it can be used for buildings that are 10 to 20 story tall, where it provides resistance against overturning. It can be used where soil requires such a large bearing area and the footing might be spread to the extent that it becomes more economical to pour one large slab thickness, more economical, less form. So if your foundation is having spread footing and the spread is quite larger, that very less area is remaining, non-concreted area is very less, so you will prefer to go for large one slab thickness, because to save the formwork cost, and this will be more economical than extensive spread for footings. It is used in lie of driving piles because can be less expensive and less obtrusive, less impact on surroundings. So driving piles can also be used in assistant to this mat foundation. Usually used over expensive clays sealed to let foundation settle without greater differences. So if there is a uniform settlement and a total settlement, then this mat is quite helpful in keeping the building at level. So this is a reinforcement gauge of mat foundation. So flat plate and flat thickened under columns and waffle slab. These are its cross sections. These are the plans. Ribbed raft and basement wall as the mat. So these are the types of mat foundations. General summary of soil investigation and types of foundation. Ranking of the soil for foundation from best to for unsuitable is sand and gravel are best for soil foundations, and medium and hard clay are good, and soft silt and soft clay are poor and organic and undesirable, and peat unsuitable. The greater the plasticity index, cohesiveness, the greater the potential of shrinkage and swelling, usually characteristics of the clay like soils. So they are expensive soils because their plasticity index is quite high, and cohesiveness, due to cohesiveness, they can potentially shrink and swell to a larger extent. Non-cohesive soils are granular soils consisting of gravels and sands, and cohesive soils are silt and clay, and also organic. And differential settlement in concrete foundation should be limited to 1/4 to 1.5 inch maximum. So this is the margin of differential settlement. Generally, cost of foundation are 5% of the total construction cost. Most economical where safe bearing capacity is at least 3000 pounds per square feet, then spread foundation can be used. Piles are most expensive and 2 to 3 times the price of spread foundation. So this is the cost of high loads, that it will be quite expensive. Types of soil excavation tools and machines used in construction, we have already discussed them in our previous lecture. Anyhow, we will be just going through them and revising them. There are different types of soil excavation tools and machines used in construction. Excavation of soil is necessary in construction point of view, and it should be done by hand tools or machineries based on the area of the land or depth of excavation. By the process of excavation, the land is cleaned from tree roots, stumps, and organic impurities, and which should harm to the foundation. Nowadays, for the soil excavation, there are so many equipment that are there, and these are classified into two: hand tools and machinery tools. Hand tools for soil excavation: spade. The spade is a tool which consists of metal plate. There is a metal plate and having a sharp edge. Metal plate is attached with a long handle which is generally made of wood. So because of its sharp edges, the soil can be dug easily. The metal plate having less curvature in the spade, so we cannot lift the soil. So this metal plate is having less curvature, so lifting the soil is quite difficult. Shovel. It is similar to for purpose of lifting of excavated soil. It is similar to the spade. The difference between spade and shovel is the difference in leading edge. So this one, and the curvature of the metal plate of the shovel is generally higher when compared to spade, so we can hold the soil easily and lift it. So it is lift it. Correction required. Shovel can also be used for digging purposes in case of soil, soft soil and sand. So they can also be used for digging purposes. Hoe. Hoe is an excavating tool which consists of metal plate attached to a long handle with acute angle. Long handle with an acute angle with the metal plate. The plate having sharp edge is used to excavate the soil. So this is, you can see that the edge is sharp, so it is used for excavation of the soil. For small work of excavation, it is widely preferred tool. Sometimes metal plates is replaced by fork type of plate. So sometimes this metal plate is replaced by fork type of plate. Trowel. Trowel is hand-sized tool which is generally used to dig small trenches in soil to remove shallow roots in the soil. So mostly used for agricultural purposes. And rack is a tool which is having horizontal rod having metal teeth. And it is used to remove small layer of soil, top layer of soil. Pickaxe consists hard spike attached perpendicular to handle. Hard spike is attached to perpendicular to the handle, and handle is a foot. They are used for excavating small trenches in soil. For excavation purposes, digging purposes, pickaxe can cut the soil even if the soil is very hard type. This is used for hard type of soil, and this is used for soft type of soil. The metal pick is pointed on one side and wide blade is provided on the other side. This is metal spike and this is wide blade. Mattock. This looks like pickaxe. So it is similar to pickaxe, and but serious digging is not possible with mattock, and generally it is used for lifting as lifting tool because it's curve shape metal at the bottom. So it is having curve, and this is used for digging purposes, mostly in agricultural areas. Tracked excavator, so it is also called track hoe, and it consists of cabinet and long arm. This is the cabinet and this is the long arm. Long arm consists two parts. First part, which is closure to the cabinet, is known as boom. This is the boom, and other part is dipper stick. This is the dipper stick and this is the boom. Digging bucket is attached at the end of dipper. So this is the dipper stick, and this is the assembly for excavation purposes, and this entire system can rotate 360 degree. This whole system can rotate 360 degree. In this case, vehicle is moved by traction. So this is this moved by traction. So we can use this equipment in mines, forestry, pipeline industry, etc. The function of excavator is done by hydraulic fluid, so it is also called hydraulic excavator. So this they have hydraulic fluid inside, and they work on the principles of hydraulics. Wheeled excavator, so there are wheels provided, and hydraulic excavator, and this whole arrangement is similar to a track excavator, except that the movement of a vehicle is done by wheels. It can move quickly when compared to track tractors and track excavator, but it is not suitable for uneven ground or hilly areas because of its slippery nature. So these are generally used for road construction. Leveled grounds they are used, and if there are no as such rocks or hilly area. Backhoe excavator. In case of backhoe excavator, the whole arrangement is on back side, and loader bucket is arranged on the front side. This is the loader, and this is the backhoe. The two operations, digging and loading or lifting, is done by hoe and loader. So this is excavators for digging purpose, and this is for loading purposes. And this is widely used equipment nowadays because of its small size and versatility. It is a universal type of equipment. So its usage is extending nowadays, and this is moved with the help of wheels, and so moving from one workstation to another is quite quickly done. So they are mostly on wheeled. Bulldozers, and bulldozers consist of hard steel plate, this one, with sharp edge at its front, and this sharp edge is helped. This sharp edge helps the plate should be removed, helps the plate to cut the soil and for excavation, and cutting the soil and for excavation purposes. The metal plate can be raised and lowered with the help of hydraulic arms. These are the hydraulic arms. The bulldozer are available in both tracked and wheeled forms, and these are widely used for works of soil excavation, weak rock strata removal, and lift of soils. Drag line excavator. Drag line excavator consists of large length boom, and a cable is attached from the top of the boom, and digging bucket is suspended to the cable, and generally drag line excavators are used for large depths excavation like pore construction, water sediment removal, and heavy equipment with greater economy. Trenchers, and trenches are the equipment used to dig trenches in the ground, and these are also available in many sizes based on our requirement. The trenches dug are generally used for drainage purposes and pipeline laying and cable laying. The trenchers are generally available in two types, chain trenchers and wheel trenchers. So these are the chain trenchers, and chain trenchers consist of a fixed arm called boom. This is the fixed arm and called boom, and which digging chain is arranged. This is the digging chain. The chain is very hard and consists of sharp tooths. So this is very hard and contains sharp tooths, and whenever it is driven into the ground, and the chain rotates around the boom with rapid force and cuts the ground, and by adjusting the angle of the boom up and down, we can manage the depth of the excavation, and it cuts the soil with hard strata which cannot excavate by bucket type of excavator, and this is its advantage. And in case of small chain trenchers, wheeled vehicles are available, and for large chain trenchers are available in tracked form. So these are wheeled trenchers, and these are tracked chain trenchers. In case of wheel trenchers, metal wheel is used as a trenching tool. Wheel. This equipment is available in both tracked and wheeled form of vehicles, so both tracked and wheeled form of vehicles. And when compared to chain trencher, the wheeled trencher can cut harder soil strata, so they are they can excavate more harder surfaces, and it can be used to cut pavement surface while road repair works. And economically also wheeled trencher is better than chain trencher. Wheeled trenchers are better than this chain trencher. Alright, now it's from a method of soil investigation and soil exploration and their details. Soil investigation and soil exploration are we have discussed in our previous lecture, and are conducted for the purpose of soil investigation to get clear information about soil properties and hydrological conditions at the site. Site reconnaissance is the inspection of the site and study of topography to get the proper information about the soil and groundwater condition. Purpose of soil exploration: order of occurrences and extent of soil and rock strata, nature and engineering properties of the soil, so it's a repetition and requires correction, and rock formation, location of groundwater and its variation. Open excavation can be done, and borings can be done, subsurface soundings tests can be done, and geographical methods can be conducted. Open excavation: a pit eventually can be excavated for exploring shallow depths, say of the order of 2 to 5 meter or so. Such a pit can be easily excavated at the proposed construction site if the soil has a bit of cohesion, and the soil samples can be lifted from such different depths, besides making the easy visualization and examination of the strata. So easily you can visualize them because this is shallow depth, and manual excavation and even undisturbed soil samples can be lifted from such a pit by process of chunk sampling. So even disturbed and undisturbed both samples can be taken by open excavation. Boring methods: soil samples can be lifted from deeper depths by drilling bore holes by using mechanical devices called samplers. The process consists drilling a hole and visually examining the cuttings coming out from different depths, lifting the soil samples from different depths by using mechanical devices called samplers. Okay, boring method, auger boring, and this is the simplest method of boring a hole by hand drilling, and this can be used for shallower depths, generally confined to depths of about 5 meter or so. In cohesive and other soft soil about groundwater, auger boring is used. In cohesive soil, auger boring is used, and helical auger and post hole auger, and this is handle and drill hole, and this is bore hole, and it is rotated. This is auger boring. Auger boring and shell boring. Auger are suitable for soft and stiff clays, and very stiff and hard clays and sand pumps for sandy soils, and cylindrical augers and shells are used for making deep bores. Are used for depths. 24-rated machinized rig are used for depths 25 meter to 50 meters, this auger and shell boring. Okay, wash boring. This is a simple and fastest method, and used for making holes in all types of soil except boulders and rocks. This is borehole water and water jet and hollow drill rod, and this is settling tank and tripod and suction pump, and with the help of watering this, this is mostly conducted in soils which are not having boulders and rocks. Precushion boring, and this method is used to make hole in all types of soil including boulders and rocks. So this wash boring was not able to do boring in harder soil. Percussion boring is employed when auger and wash boring is not possible in very stiff soil or rocks. It also can be used in most soil types. Here the or hammering bit that is by alternatively lifting and dropping heavy cutting and or hammering bit that is attached to a rope or cable that is lowered into an open hole and or inside a temporary casing are hollow cylindrical pipes used for boring holes stability and to prevent the loss of drilling fluid through the bores. And usually a tripod is used to support the cables, and the stroke of bit varies according to the ground condition. The major disadvantage of this method is that it is not possible to get good quality of undisturbed samples. So with the help of hammering, this boring is conducted, and rotary boring or mud rotary boring, and this method is used to advance hole in rocks and soil, and rotating core barrels which are provided with commercial diamond bits or steel bits with slots are used for rotating rotary drilling, and this method is used to obtain the rock core. So this method is called core boring or core drilling. So this is for core drilling. Okay, soil samples and sampling for bore methods and disturbed samples. A disturbed sample, the natural structures of the soil gets partly fully modified or destroyed, although with suitable precaution the natural water content may be preserved. Disturbed samples can be obtained by direct excavation by agar or thick wall samples. Undisturbed samples, in undisturbed sample the natural structure and properties remain preserved, and these samples are used to test for shear, consolidation and permeability. Undisturbed samples used to test for shear, consolidation and permeability. Non-representative samples, it consists of a mixture of soil from different soil strata. Size of the soil grains as well as mineral constituents might thus have changed in this sample. Soil samples obtained from agar cutting and settling is in some wells of wash boring can be classified in this category, and such samples may help in determining the depth at which major changes may be occurring in subsurface strata. Okay, subsurface sounding test, and these tests are carried out to measure the resistance to penetration of a sampling spoon, a cone or other shaped tool under dynamic or static loading. These tools are used for exploration of erratic solid profiles, for finding depth to bedrock or stratum, and to get approximate indication of the strength and other parameters of the soil. Standard penetration test we have discussed in our previous lecture. This test is carried out to clean a hole of diameter this much and the size of the hole. So we have discussed this in our previous lecture. And cone penetration test is also called Dutch cone test. This type of test is carried out to get a continuous record of resistance of soil by penetrating steadily under static pressure a cone with base of 10 square centimeter and an angle of 60 degree at the vertex. And to find out the cone resistance, the cone alone is first forced down to a distance of 8 centimeter, and the maximum value of the resistance is recorded. This test is very useful in finding the bearing capacity of pits in cohesionless soil, and cone resistance is approximately equal to 10 times the cone resistance number, penetration number. Okay, a geographical method of soil exploration includes electrical resistivity method and seismic refraction method. Electrical resistivity method is based on the measurement and recording of changes in mean resistivity or apparent specific resistance of various soils. This test is done by driving 4 metal spikes to act as electrodes into the ground along a straight line at equal distances. Seismic refraction. This method is very fast and reliable in establishing profiles of different strata, provided the deeper layers have increasing greater density, higher velocity and greater thicknesses. What are excavation supports? In general, to construct a structure either above the ground or below the ground, excavation of the soil is necessary in the ground. Excavation may be shallow or deep based on our requirements, but when deep cuts are made in the soil from the sides of excavated area may collapse due to soil stability. And to prevent this and to make the cut accurate vertical, we need some temporary earth retaining structures called excavation supports. The failure of soil cuts arises when the limit of excavation exceeds the safe height limit, and it depends upon unconfined compressive strength of soil and cohesion. This is important. So this is the safe height. If very soft soil is used, soft and hard, so and these are uncompressive strengths, and these are cohesion values and safe heights. Following table provides a safe height limit for different soil types based on their unconfined compressive strength and cohesion limits. Generally, there are two most commonly adopted methods of providing excavation support: shoulder pile and legging, and soil nailing. Shoulder pile and legging. Shoulder pile are nothing but I section which consist web between two flanges. These I sections are drilled into the ground around the periphery of an excavation. The piles are driven to the point slightly below the required excavation depth. Weak concrete is used for grouting of the piles, and the spacing between every two adjacent piles is limited to 10 feet. After the excavation is done and the surrounding soil is well supported by the flange of the pile, and in between the piles wood legging is used. The legging consists long timber sheets or planks placed behind the front flange of piles to support the soil between the piles, and timber of 2 to 4 inches thick. So manual excavation behind the front flange is needed to offer strong bond between horizontal wood sheet and front edge. Welded studs or clips may be used. So these are the shoulder pile and legging. For narrow cuts which have limited width and more depth, excavation bracing are provided in the form of struts, and struts are connecting members which connect the one side cut wall to another cut wall horizontally. To install struts, horizontal members called waller is arranged in front of wooden legging, and if the excavation is very wide, then inclined strut called rackers are used. So these are the shoulder piles and timber legging, and you can see that over excavation has been carried out, and this is the backfill. Soil nailing method. Soil nailing is another technique to protect excavated ground. It is economical and rapid process. In this case, soil is reinforced in situ to make it stable. For soil nailing, first shallow cut is excavated, and then the cut is coated with shotcrete. So shotcrete is being done, and shotcrete is nothing but concrete which is sprayed through pipes with some force, and on the shotcrete area the soil nails are drilled and grouted, and the group of nails installed on a grid hold the soil in a stable manner. The same process is repeated until the required depth is reached. So these are the soil nail, and drainage system is provided typical, and grouting is done, and then so existing road and road widening, and this is soil support system. Soil nailing is more effective and easier if it is done with subsequent layers of installation. Even though it is rapid in construction, it needs skilled persons and who are having knowledge on geotechnology and craftsmanship, and soil nailing should be more effective above the groundwater table. And soil nailing is mostly used for rails or road embankment, tunnel excavation, and retaining structures for high-rise buildings. Soil nailing structures provide good resistance against seismic activities and deflections, and are also within the tolerable limits. Sometimes this excavation, bracing, or rackers may disturb the field operations. So to overcome this, tie-back system is developed. In this case, tie-back bars or anchor bars are installed in the soil cut that is behind the excavation support. So these tie-back hold the excavation support, and they are grouted to the rock below the ground, and from this the lateral earth pressure is also prevented, and the load from the structure is carried to the rock through the tieback, and the angle of inclination of anchor is decided based on the soil behavior and ability of hard stratum. But in general, 10 to 20 degree inclination is provided for anchors. Selection of foundation based on different types of soil. Commonly, the selection of foundation types for a given structure is controlled by number of factors, for example soil type, past site usage, adjacent construction size, and development process and limitations. Among these factors, the type of soil play a significant role, and foundations are recommended based on different soil types which are provided, and rocks and uniform, firm and stiff clay, and soft clay and peat. Rock. This category involves rock, hard, sound chalk and sand or gravel, and sand and gravel with little clay content, and dense silty sand. Recommended foundation is strip foundation, pad foundation or raft foundation. So this is masonry wall, and this is reinforced concrete strip foundation, and this is pad foundation. So this minimum depth is this much, that is as per design, and strip and trench base shall be kept above the groundwater table if possible. Engineer shall be aware of running sand conditions and sand slopes possibly eroded by water, surface water, so protect foundation by perimeter drainage, and weathered rock needs to be evaluated upon inspection, and engineer shall be aware of shallow holes in chalks. Okay, uniform, firm and stiff clay. Case 1, recommended footing is if there is where the foundation is not close to vegetation or existing vegetation is not important. So recommended foundation is strip foundation, pad foundation and raft foundation. Factors to be considered in this case are minimum depth. So this is as per design, so you need not to memorize it. And when the strip foundation is constructed in desiccated clay in dry soil, then the foundation shall be loaded with the building prior to the returns of rain. Case 2 is where trees, hedges or shrubs are close to foundation location, or there is a plan to plant these trees near the structure in future. So recommended foundation is concrete pile supporting reinforced concrete ground beams and precast concrete floors, concrete piles carrying in situ, and raft foundation and specially designed trench fields. So if you are going to plant trees in future, so this type of foundation is recommended. And uniform, firm and stiff clay. Engineer should be aware that the size and the type of pile foundation is controlled by economic factors. When in situ concrete ground slab is utilized, a void must be created under the slab if it is laid in dry weather in desiccated clay. If the distance between recent planted tree and the foundation position is at least 1 to 2 times mature tree height, then it might be suitable to construct a strip foundation. If the distance is larger, then you can go towards the strip foundation. In few cases, reinforced trench fill can be employed. For example, if clay of low to medium shrinkage potential or perimeter zone of the tree root system. Case 3, where trees are cut down shortly before foundation construction began. Recommended is reinforced concrete piles in previously tree root zone, strip foundation and raft foundation. Case 3 is piles shall be tied properly into suspended reinforced concrete slab, and sufficient length of the slab shall be provided, and is simple. Soft clay. This category includes soft clay and soft silty clay, and soft sandy clay or soft silty sand. And recommended foundation white strip footing and raft foundation and pile and so white strip footing is used when bearing capacity is sufficient and predicted settlement is acceptable. Strip footing shall be reinforced based on the thickness and projection beyond the face wall. Service entries to the building shall be flexible, and frequently subsoil can be improved by vibro treatment, and it would be economical solution if employed in conjunction with strip or raft foundation. For peat foundation, concrete piles extend to a firm soil layer below. For small projects, pad and beam foundation taken to firm soil strata below, and raft foundation for these cases where firm strata is not available at reasonable depth. Piles type including bore cast in place with temporary casing, driven cast in place, and driven precast, and allow the peat consolidation drag on pile, and special high grade and protection is likely to be required in aggressive peats. And if peat layer is shallow over a firm layer of soil, dig it out and replace it with compacted soil. For this, use raft or reinforced widespread foundation dependent on anticipated settlement. Frequently, subsoil can be improved using a vibro treatment, and it would be economical solution if employed in conjunction with raft foundation. Alright, the summary is this, that rock foundation, then you can go for strip foundation, and strip pad foundation, and raft foundation. And if your soil is firm, and then you have to go for a raft foundation, and if that is peat and those things, then soft clay and peat, then you must prefer piles, and if your structure is heavily loaded. And these are all based on design parameters, and in these last two lectures we discussed thoroughly regarding soil and exploration of the soil and sampling of the soil, and boring methods, and soil grouping, soil categories, so soil moving equipments, and there are also other topics related. We went thoroughly and briefly to the from the topic and there are a lot of topics to be covered regarding soil, and you have studied them in detail in your geotechnical engineering 1 and 2. So need not to repeat them, and these topics are technically discussed on those subjects. So we just overviewed them and recalled all these criteria, and these are required to be considered when you are at a site engineer. Moreover, that's it from subject construction engineering and graphics, and few 1-2 topics are remaining regarding vibrators, and so you can Google that and study that by your own self. So this subject was quite extensive, and to be sincere and to be honest, this is a combination of multiple different subjects like surveying, drawing, and mechanics, and soil mechanics, and solid mechanics, and you can see that civil engineering materials, and civil engineering economy. So a lot of topics are there, and we tried our best to cover them in this time frame, and in 32 lectures how much we could cover, that we have covered. And the thing is this, that you should be involved in lifelong learning, and after 1-2 years maybe these lectures are outdated, or maybe more advanced technology has been adopted by this society. So you have to transform your education level up to that current circumstances. So that's it from today, and I will be quoting one of the famous scholar of which is alive in current circumstances and who have a lot of contribution to Islam, is Mufti Taqi Usmani Sahab, and he states after getting so much knowledge and writing hundreds and hundreds of books and regarding Islamic finance and other topics. So he said that अभी शर्रे उल्फत की मंजिल कहाँ है, अभी तो तकी इब्तिदाओं में गुम हो. Saying that the limit of love have just people are saying that limit of love have you have reached the limit of love in divine love, and now he is saying that now I am just in preliminary stages and miles to go before I sleep. Miles to go before I sleep. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.